Let's begin with a basic explanation of the class trial. So, your votes will determine if you can figure out who done it, then I'll punish. Okay, well...
Well then, let's discuss the specifics of the victim. First, we need to clarify who exactly...
It's Kyoko! There's no other explanation.
But Kyoko's standing right there.
No! That's a ghost!
But she has legs and stuff.
Well, she's like the latest...
There's a limit to how much ridiculousness I can tolerate.
Okay. So then let's compare Kyoko.
Her trick.
I got it! I'm talking about her gloves. They'll give us some insight into the...
In that case, I think it would be helpful if someone...
And would you happen to...
In fact, Monokuma told me. Apparently you have scars on your hands you don't want anyone to see.
Oh! You know...
They probably just got burnt up. I'm not convinced. That Kyoko there is just a ghost.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it. Prove she's not a ghost.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion?
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves.
No, that's wrong. No, there's no way the corpse was wearing gloves. Whoever it was, they were wearing fake nails, remember? I imagine trying to wear gloves over nails like that would have been a pretty big pain. Besides, Kyoko wears gloves to hide her hands, right? It'd be pretty weird for someone who's self-conscious about their hands to wear fake nails. Don't you think?
Jeez, man, you don't know women.
If anyone doesn't know women, it's you.
Well, Kyoko...
These gloves were custom made to the size of my hands to make sure they don't interfere with my daily life. If I wore fake nails, the gloves wouldn't fit properly.
Then that's that. The dead body doesn't belong to Kyoko.
Which should have been obvious since she's standing right here.
Okay, so then, who's the real...
That's the first thing I said. You're the one who's been dragging us around in circles.
If Kyoko really is still alive, then who died?
There's gotta be some way to figure it out.
I don't think so. The face was scorched beyond recognition. And there wasn't any description in the Monokuma.
Well, if we can't identify the body...
No, that's wrong! There was one clue left behind that we can use to identify the body.
What? For real?
If you're lying, you'll die a cruel and unusual death.
Cruel and unusual death? This I gotta see.
She's just being stupid. Ignore...
The key to figuring out who is the tattoo on the back of her hand.
Oh, yeah.
Her master must have made her get it. To be like, you're my bitch.
Seriously?
No, that's not it.
Oh,
I got it! The Fenrir Mercenary Corps. That's the name of the military group.
Okay, so...
To show that they're a member of the team, each soldier that joins the squad would get a tattoo representing Fenrir somewhere on their body.
Fenrir?
understand? The representation of Fenrir is a wolf.
Fenrir, the Wolf of Ragnarok. It's from Norse mythology. A huge, world-ending wolf beast. He's the child of the trickster god Loki, and a female giant.
Man, after all this time, we finally got a glimpse of the literary all-star.
A wolf tattoo.
Exactly. Which means that person must have once belonged to Fenrir. So it must have been Mukuro.
What?
Hold on. Isn't...
Yes, indeed. The trial this time is to solve the murder of Mukuro Ikusaba.
Are you saying the mastermind is dead? And now we have to have...
No. It means we were wrong in thinking that Mukuro was the mastermind at all.
But I mean, being the ultimate despair seems...
Maybe we shouldn't have been thinking of... After all, looking at her profile, I didn't see anything that would fit such a description. All it said was that she was the ultimate soul. If I remember correctly, that Kyoko, that's what you told Makoto, right?
So that means...
And who was she? She's been gone this whole time?
Usually when there's a scene where an important character...
So you're saying she wasn't, which would mean she was the same as us. Just another participant.
Then who's the real mastermind?
It must have been the Hope's Peak Academy.
No, the headmaster has nothing to do with it.
But how can we trust that? We already know you're...
My information was not wrong.
Okay. We're in the middle of a trial right now. Figuring out who killed Mukuro is first and foremost. Please limit all future prattle, chatter, and chit-chat as much as possible.
Fine. Uncovering the identity of the mastermind will have to wait. But remember this. No matter what happens, we will find out who you really are. I stake my family...
I have officially decided to completely ignore all such attempts at provocation. Now then, just so nobody's confused, the reason we're having a class trial is because hammer that point straight into your big ol' brains!
What you're saying is that both the victim and the culprit are part of the student body?
Then, one of us killed Mukuro?
Wait, no! There's a chance that there's...
Nope! There are only 16 students in total that have been taking part.
Seriously?
Who did it?
Get a hold of yourself.
Huh?
I'm sure you realize who I'm talking about, right?
I got it! You've narrowed it down to Kyoko and me, right?
Why do you say that?
Allow me to explain. Just after nighttime last night, I went to the garden. So I can confirm that at that point, there was no dead body there. So, the murder must have taken place after I left the garden. However, Hiro, Toko, Hina, and I were in the gym the entire time.
The gym?
That's right. The four of us were there trying to dismantle Monokuma. The whole time, we were very careful not to go anywhere alone. We even went to the bathroom in pairs. All of which is to say, the four of us all have alibis. The only ones...
Are me and Makoto.
Exactly so.
I have something I'd like to say regarding the whole alibi thing.
Are you thinking of raising an objection?
Well, before that, doing that might reveal some kind of clue.
Whatever you want. Somebody go ahead and help him out.
Me and Byakuya can both confirm that the body wasn't in the garden at... Well, it was after nighttime for sure. So the murder must have happened after 10 p.m.
Then I guess we can say the time. Oh, but what time?
The one who saw the body first was...
I got it! The body must have been discovered at 9 a.m., since that's when Toko went to get the pickaxe.
He's right. It had to be around then.
So we can be totally sure the murder happened sometime between 10 at night and 9 in the morning.
For me, I was already asleep before nighttime hit, so I don't have an alibi after 10 o'clock. But I'm sure I met up with everyone else before 9 this morning.
We ran into each other in the dining hall, right? Oh yeah! Right around 7:30. I remember checking right before I went in, so I'm totally sure about it.
which means from 10 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., you don't have an alibi.
We've established a time frame for the murder. It took place somewhere between 10 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep, and Makoto doesn't have an alibi for most of that time.
Yeah, from 10 o'clock to 7:30.
That's more than enough time to commit murder, I should think. So Makoto, if you have any objections, now would be the time. We've established a time frame for the murder. It took place somewhere between 10 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep, and Makoto doesn't have an alibi for most of that time.
Yeah, from 10 o'clock to 7:30.
Shoot!
We've established a time frame for it took place
Somewhere between...
No, that's wrong! Actually, the murder couldn't have happened anywhere near 10 o'clock. It had to have taken place way later.
And what makes you say that?
Because of the sprinklers in the garden. The sprinklers are set to go off right at 7:30 every morning, right? So if the body had been in the garden before, then it should have been completely soaked.
Oh, hold on! The body was wet.
Sorry, Toko.
I'm wrong? Are you saying only the mouth down south was wet? How dare you spew
No, I'm saying that the body...
What do you mean by denying the sprinkler?
Man, you're totally...
If you really think it wasn't the sprinkler, you'd better tell us why! I admit nothing. No, no, no! That's enough! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. No, no, no! That's enough! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. I'm right about this. I admit nothing. No, no, no! That's enough! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. No, no, no! That's enough! Are you trying to blame me? How can you say it wasn't the sprinkler?
This should prove it. Just remember what the body was like after the explosion, and you'll see why it wasn't the sprinklers. The top half of the body was wet, yes, but the bottom half was completely dry. If the sprinklers got the body wet, shouldn't the whole body have been wet?
So they only got the top wet? The bottom was completely...
I'm so sick of her.
Let's just move on. The reason only the top half was wet was because... while the body was still on fire, I doused it with water. But only the part on fire, the top half.
Oh, then I guess...
So if the sprinklers didn't get the body wet, then the murder sometime after the sprinklers turned on at 7:30 in the morning.
Which means she must have been killed sometime between then and when the body was discovered at 9.
But Makoto's alibi was only missing from 10 o'clock.
So there's no way Makoto could have done it.
In which case, the only one left...
I'd just like to say, if you vote for me and I die here, the mystery of this school will stay hidden forever, which is why I can't let that happen.
So are you saying...
Of course I'm not. I have no reason to kill anyone. This is a trap the mastermind has laid for us.
A trap?
We're this. Stop wasting time. Stop wasting energy. You really think?
Shut up, you!
You got it, boss. Shutting up now.
Anyway, Kyoko, you actually did have a reason to kill her.
Huh? She did?
She thought Mukuro was the ultimate despair. In other words, the mastermind behind everything. So she killed her to try and put a stop to all this. But you made one catastrophic mistake, and as a result, we were forced into another trial. Something I'm sure you weren't at all expecting.
So, that was her...
If she had a motive and no alibi, well then, I think it's pretty clear Kyoko's gotta be the culprit.
I'm not the only one without an alibi. Makoto's explanation is still insufficient.
Huh?
The sprinklers didn't get the body wet.
What are you...
Because you see, there is a way the body could have avoided getting wet.
Interesting. I'm listening.
All it would take is covering the body with a certain something to keep it from getting wet.
I got it! You're talking about the tarp, aren't you?
You catch on quick. You're right. All you'd have to do is cover the body with the tarp, and that'd take care of the water. In fact, that's exactly what the killer did. The dirt pattern on the tarp can attest to that. Only one side of the tarp got dirty, because that's the side that got covered in water. The side that faced down over the body, meanwhile, kept perfectly clean. This proves that the killer used the tarp to keep the body from getting soaked.
But why would they go to all that effort just to keep the body from getting wet?
Most likely so they could cloud the issue of when the murder actually took place. In other words, to create an excuse exactly like the one Makoto just gave us.
Wait. Something's not right.
And what might that be? By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side... Shoot!
By covering the body with the killer prevented it.
So the reason the tarp was because the sprinkler, but the underside of it was totally spotted.
It's because that side was protected from the water.
Shoot!
By covering the body with the killer prevented it.
So the reason the tarp was because the sprinkler, but the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless. It's because that side was since it was facing down. Of course it didn't get dirty. No, that's wrong. Actually, one side being clean is pretty strange if you think about it. Because the blood wasn't dry before the body got blown up, right? Byakuya said it himself. Not to touch it, or you might get some on you. If you put a tarp on a body in that state, it absolutely would have gotten blood on it.
Well, maybe the culprit washed it, so nobody would know they'd used it.
If they had, they would have washed both sides. Just washing the one side wouldn't hide anything.
Oh, yeah, true.
More than that, what if the very blood we saw on What if, after the killer used the tarp to avoid the sprinklers, they then covered the body in blood that didn't belong to the victim?
You mean someone else's?
I know! They could have grabbed... That's what Hifumi did, right? When he pretended...
No, that's not what happened this time. The killer got the blood from right there in the
I got it! Could it have been chicken blood?
What? Chicken blood?
When I checked the chicken coop before the murder, there were 5 chickens. But after the murder, there were only 4.
So, you're saying... someone... Man! That's messed up.
Killing a living thing just to do something like that is awful. They should have at least eaten it.
I wonder if the killer had to get the blood from the scene so they wouldn't be spotted walking around. Anyway, there's no denying that a chicken went missing, which provides a basis for my theory.
Perhaps, but even so, there's one thing that still doesn't make sense. You said the culprit used the tarp to avoid the water, but if that's the case, then the blood should have soaked into the ground around the body. But that's not what we saw. The ground was completely clean.
I have to agree. That's maybe they didn't apply the blood at the scene.
They covered it before.
When you discovered the body,
Wait. No. The head was through the neck hole, but the arms weren't in the sleeves.
then that settles it.
Sorry, I'm having a tough time.
Here's what happened. The murder took place before the sprinklers went off, but the body didn't get wet. Then, later, they pulled the coat over the body. The coat they'd already covered in blood. This series of cover-ups was meant to disguise the actual time the murder occurred. They wanted us to think the murder happened.
If that's actually what took place.
But wouldn't they have had to go back to the garden after
That actually wouldn't have been... They already had the coat ready. So they just had to grab the tarp and pull the coat over the body. They'd be done in no time.
Maybe.
Hina, after you met up with...
Oh no, I headed off to the gym.
Then he had plenty of time to spare, wouldn't you say?
That's not...
Don't bother saying it's not possible.
I must admit, Kyoko's reasoning... Well then, it looks like we're back to square one. Makoto's alibi is no good, so once again, our suspects are him and Kyoko.
For serious, man? Which one of them did it? Hey, why don't we let luck decide?
Oh!
See? Pretty good.
No, not that!
Well, don't just stand there. Out with it.
You know that knife we found all...
The one we found stuck in the... According to the Monokuma file, the knife went all the way through, from front to back. So, what about it?
I'm pretty sure I'd seen... That's what I thought when I first saw...
It's the knife we gave to Makoto?
You don't seem surprised.
Yeah,
Then why did you hide that fact?
it's not that I hid it.
Suspicious! The knife we found stuck in the body. Now I'm totally convinced he did it!
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, then that seals it! Makoto did it!
Just because I had the knife once, that automatically makes me the killer?
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right? So there's no question. You took that knife of yours and killed her with...
What a horrible man you are, Makoto. The knife we found... It's the same one! It really is, isn't it?
If he did have that seals it! Just because I had that automatic... Well...
Getting stabbed is...
No, that's wrong! Wait, hold on. That should be clear from the description of the cover-up we just heard.
Lies! We never talked about what killed her!
No, the killer covered the dead body. In other words, the victim never wore that blood-stained coat until after they were dead.
Okay, fine!
So, the knife had been thrust through the coat. Meaning, if she wasn't stabbed until the coat was put on, and she was already dead at that point, Obviously, the stab wound isn't what killed her.
Maybe you stabbed her twice.
I got it! The Monokuma file clearly states that there was only one stab wound.
Oh yeah, it sure did. I totally forgot about that.
Then the knife...
Was just another piece of camouflage set up by the true killer. They probably stabbed her to draw attention away from what actually killed her. Exploding the body afterward was probably meant to do the same thing. The explosion severely damaged the body, making it impossible to know what really killed her. It was all the killer's attempt to destroy all evidence of their crime.
So they wanted us to notice the stab wound and then detonated the body afterward. They meant for us to latch onto the knife as the cause of death, then destroy any evidence proving otherwise.
Oh, hey, I have a question. It kinda goes back to the beginning, but what's the deal with that explosion anyway?
If you bothered to put that line...
Well, if you're so smart, just tell me.
I'll tell you. I bet some unknown
I might be dumb, but even I'm not dumb enough to believe that.
Go ahead, Makoto.
I got it! After the explosion, we found a tiny fragment of something on the ground near the body, right? That fragment reveals the cause of the explosion.
Huh? You know...
That's only natural, because of course, we saw the same thing when we dismantled Monokuma. It's part of a bomb.
Oh! Then the
Anyway, the culprit's motive is becoming more and more obvious by the minute. They wanted the knife wound to look like, and the only one who would benefit from is the only other possible suspect. You, Kyoko.
Hold on a second, Pia.
What's the problem?
Well, I just feel like we need to think this.
That's true. It's definitely bugging me. What really killed her?
Fine. I have no problem. It won't change the facts of the case. Then, shall we continue the debate? The victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined.
The explosion didn't kill her for sure.
Well, yeah.
And it wasn't because of the knife. Then there's only...
Oh yeah. That's gotta be it.
There was evidence that showed she was hit on the back of her head.
Shoot!
Then, shall we continue? The victim's fatal
The explosion didn't kill...
Well, yeah.
And it wasn't...
Oh yeah.
That's gotta be it. There was
Evidence that showed you... And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her Then, shall we continue? The victim's
fatal injury has yet to be.
No, that's wrong! The head she suffered.
What about the wounds all over the rest of her body?
The Monokuma file makes it clear that those weren't fresh wounds.
Oh yeah, good point. If they were old...
Okay, then we're safe in assuming the blow to the back of her head is what killed her.
But then... what was the murder weapon?
The Monokuma file says she was hit with a blunt object, about as thick as a metal pipe.
Oh! I bet it was the pickaxe!
How is that even possible? If you hit someone with that, it'd cave their skull in completely.
Well, maybe they held it the other way and hit her with the handle.
No way! The balance would be all off. You wouldn't be able to swing it with any kind of power. I wouldn't mind testing it.
No thanks. I bet you just hit me with the metal end and call it an accident.
I'd love to scoop out that nasty...
I feel...
Seriously?
We want to figure out what killed her, right? It just so happens we already know.
We already know?
So what was it?
Go ahead and tell them, Makoto.
I got it! Mukuro was hit in the back of the head. And that something was the titanium arrow we found in the locker in the dojo.
An arrow? That's what the culprit attacked Mukuro with?
Indeed. There's no doubt about it.
Are you sure?
Hey! How dare you!
I'm not back-talking anything.
the titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt that was the murder weapon.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced.
Well, it said the weapon must have been. It seems like an arrow would just be too.
No, that's wrong! You're right. Just the one arrow would have been too weak. That's why the killer used another weapon.
Another weapon?
Inside the dojo locker, we also found a balled-up wad of duct tape. The killer probably uses duct tape to bind multiple arrows together. Bundling them together using the duct tape would easily create a single weapon, and that's exactly what the killer did.
It's similar to Aesop's fable about the bundle of sticks. One stick is weak, but put them together, and they become...
Damn, that's harsh.
How is it harsh? Are you even listening?
Anyway, that explains the murder weapon. As for who the culprit is it was you.
I've never been to the dojo.
Oh no, you absolutely have.
How can you say that with such...
Because we have proof.
I got it! The one thing that proves right here. The key to the dojo locker.
And how does that prove anything?
Because I found it in your room.
It was... in my room?
Don't bother trying to play dumb. That key is just the final piece of the puzzle. Your non-existent alibi, your clear motive, your attempts to frame Makoto for the crime. This all proves that you are the true culprit. You...
Hold on a second.
Not this again. You really are dead set on defending her, aren't you?
No, it's not. There's one more thing I need to... Kyoko. Last night, you were in my room, weren't you? Why? What were you doing there? That's what I need to know.
I was just... protecting you.
What?
That's enough.
Wait. I'm warning you. Don't make...
I knew you were stuck.
Really? But you should know... Can you tell me I'm wrong?
Those words you... just spoke.
Exactly.
I'm not the killer.
You should understand that...
Byakuya.
What are you... Master, would you never hide...
There's proof that you aren't the... Is that what you're...
You stated that
You said I hid the evidence of my crime and then left the locker key in my own room.
Correct.
But... could I really have done that?
Those words you just...
Exactly. I'm not the killer. You should understand...
Byakuya.
Master, would you never...
There's proof
That you aren't the...
No, that's wrong! If I'm right, Kyoko wouldn't have been able to get into her room.
Huh? Why not?
Because she had given her room key to Byakuya.
I see. So that's what you meant. And if I had the key to your room...
Then obviously I had no way of getting in. Without my room key, I couldn't have possibly put the locker key in there myself. Am I wrong?
It would appear not.
Then you're finally starting...
Well, does no one... Have you decided to accept... I see. So I suppose we have to admit that Kyoko didn't put...
But who else?
I mean, Byakuya
But of course I have an alibi. I couldn't possibly have killed anyone.
Well, someone had to put the key in there.
There's only one other possibility. Someone could have had the key on them, then once they arrived at the scene, pretend...
It had to be Makoto, right?
I don't see any other option.
Wait a second! You've got it all wrong! Let's think about it one more time.
Huh?
First of all, there's something off about this entire trial. You all see it, don't you? Mukuro, who we didn't even know existed, suddenly shows up dead. And Kyoko even said, it's a trap that—
Okay!
Huh?
Time's up! Class trials...
What? Time's up?
What do you mean time's up?
It's because you were late! So we had to push back the start time! So then, it's time for voting time! Okay? Everyone, please vote using the lever in front of you!
Voting time?
Now, who will be... Hey, hold on! What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
Sorry.
Yes, indeed! Yep. Hey! Shing! Thrills! Chills! Kill!
I don't expect you to forgive me. I know this is all my fault.
Let's give it everything we've got! It's punishment time!